everybody, it's Amy from Winterwood Studio, and today we're talking about the 6 ways to actually get better at drawing. These 6 things will actually improve your drawing skills and make you more accurate and faster, and the only thing you have to do is actually do them. Alright, so for this video today, the things you will need are a sketchbook and a pencil, and a photo you want to practice drawing, and some copy paper, just plain copy paper, a proportional scale. I'm going to give you a quick lesson in this. I have a longer video coming that shows how to use proportional scales and also how to plan out a composition with tracing paper. That's going to be like a whole composition video, Composition 101. That is coming, and you will also need a ruler. So come on in and let's get better at drawing together. Before we get started, this video is sponsored by me. As some of you may know, I launched my art shop on Friday. Today is Monday morning. I launched my shop Thursday morning, the 14th, to my patrons, and then to everybody else Friday, the 15th, September. We're in September. So it is now officially open, and while I'm talking, I'm assuming you're looking at some videos and pictures of some of the products I have for sale in there. I have prints and a couple original artworks, not a bunch, but a couple. And then I also have lots of holographic waterproof vinyl stickers or water resistant stickers. I've got sticker sheets. I've got some foiled bookmarks I made. And of course I have the washi tapes, the Blue Jay washi tape and the Goldfinch washi tape and the Blue Jay pin and the Goldfinch pin. I will say that I'm starting to get low on the Blue Jay pins. I also wanted to mention, you may have saw, I did a video getting all ready for Inktober. And this is absolutely horrible, you guys. But after getting all ready for it and like getting out my inks and stuff, like I had zero desire to do ink. Yeah, which is, I've done Inktober every year, I think, for like the last 5 years now. And like, I'm in a painting kick right now and I really want to paint. And I was like, maybe if I just get the ink supplies, I'll feel more inspired to do it. No, didn't work that way. So, you guys, I am going to do Painttober. I'm calling it, I looked on Instagram, it doesn't look like Painttober is active. I don't see anything up for this year, so we're just going to call it Painttober and Painttober 2023. If by the time this goes up, it looks like somebody is using that, I'll switch it to probably like WWS Painttober for Winterwood Studio. But I have made my own prompt list. We're going to be doing it together over in my sketchbook club, and, you know, just supporting each other and talking each other through it and cheering each other on over on our Patreon, Discord, and Facebook. So if you want to, Discord group and Facebook group, so if you want to join us over there and join the support and the fun, you're more than welcome to. The link for that will be down below, but you don't need to be in that to participate. It'll be on Instagram as well, and you can feel free to post any of your pieces done with the prompts with the hashtag, and I can't wait to see them all. And yeah, Painttober, not Inktober. Those are my 2 sponsor Amy things. Let's get into the video now. Alright, so the 6 things you can do to actually improve your drawing. So I've had a lot of people asking, how do you get more accurate in sketching? How do you have your sketches look more realistic? How do you plan out your drawings? So in my bad art advice video, which I'll link down below in case you haven't seen it, I did not mention tracing. And I got a lot of comments saying tracing isn't cheating. And that's true, tracing isn't cheating. It's a tool that you can use. But I do want to say something about tracing, and this is why I didn't include it in that video as bad art advice. Tracing will never help you be a better drawer. Tracing will not help improve your skills. Tracing will not help you learn to see the shapes that you need to see. Tracing will not help you learn the anatomy. I think that tracing is fine in certain circumstances, like if you have to turn out something really, really quickly and you don't have time to draw the sketch for like a professional artist. I do not recommend tracing to people who are just starting out and who do not have good drawing skills under their belt. This may be a little controversial, but tracing can actually harm your development as an artist and actually make it harder to learn drawing later on. Okay, so hear me out. And we will talk about ways to get more accurate with your sketches that don't involve tracing, okay? So we will be talking about that, I think, in ways 5 and 6. We'll be talking about some other ways to get more accurate in your sketching without using tracing, but by using methods that will actually improve your drawing. Okay, we'll be back to that at way 5. First, we're going to move on to way number 1 to get more accurate and to learn how to draw better. Okay, so the very first way to get better at drawing is to draw a lot. And that is where the sketchbook and pencil come in. A sketchbook should be a place where you draw and make mistakes and draw again and make mistakes again. I am recommending you draw with a sketchbook and a pencil and not digitally. Why? Because it is too easy to hit undo with digital art. If you want to actually improve your drawing and get better, I suggest using a sketchbook and a pencil, because there's only so many times you can rework something before you have to move on to another design. You will improve much faster if you are actually drawing things out with your pencil on your paper and like getting the motions down and all of that. So that's number 1, draw a lot. That might seem, you know, common sense, and yet you'd be surprised how many people don't actually have any sort of daily sketching practice. If you want to get better at drawing, you have to practice. It's like anything else. And along with that, way number 2 to get better at drawing is to use a reference. So if you are drawing birds and you want them to be realistic and look actually like birds, and you're not sure of the anatomy, you need to have a reference. I talked about this in my worst art advice ever video, which I will also link down below if you would like to watch it. You need a reference. To learn anatomy, you need a reference. You cannot draw from imagination if you don't know where like the elbows or the feet or the beak are, right? You need to look at something, and it doesn't have to be a photo. A reference can also be in plein air if you're painting outside, or life studies, or you can sketch people you see like in your campus square or whatever. But those are all references, and you need to draw from references to get the anatomy and the proportions and all of that right. So that was way number 2. Way number 3 is to make sure you are using the correct proportions. For this one, I'm going to move you from here to here, and we'll film a little thing about how to use the proportional scale to make sure you're getting everything right. And I will be back for way number 4. Okay, here we are over at my desk over here, and I'm going to show you how to use a proportional scale to make sure you are drawing an accurate drawing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our reference photo and we're going to measure it. So this reference photo, like if I were wanting to paint this entire accurate reference photo or draw, this whole thing it's 5 3/16 this way, and this way it is exactly 4 inches. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at this proportional scale. Let you see that there. So let's say we want to make this drawing as big as a whole sheet of paper. Okay, well, you can't just start drawing on here because this might not be the same proportions as this. So the first thing is, this is 5 3/16. So we're going to do the size of the original is this inner disc, okay? So the size of the original is 5 3/16. So that is, let's see, 1/2 right here, right there. Okay, so we know that this side of this paper is 11 inches. Let's say we didn't want to do the whole 11 inches. So let's say we want to make this bigger, but let's say we want it to only be 10 inches, right? So a normal size for artwork would be an 8 by 10. But there's no guaranteeing this 4 is going to go into this, is going to be equal to this 8, and in fact it's not going to be. So let's say we want this side to be 10 inches. So we find the 5 3/16 on here, and we'll line it up with the 10. Okay. Now we know this side was 4, so we come here to the 4, and it cannot be 8 inches. It is, let's see, exactly 7 3/4 of an inch. So we cannot make this an 8 by 10 print without cropping some of what we see. So this can be 10 on this side, so let's do our 10 inches on this side. Okay, so let's measure out our 10 inches. We want it to be 10 inches. All right, so that's, I'm just eyeballing it. That roughly looks the same. We'll do 1 to 10, draw our line. Okay, so we know it can't be 8 inches without cropping it. So if we were trying to draw this picture exactly, accurately as it was, but bigger, then we need this to be 7 3/4. So we'll make our little line here like this. And we'll come down here and do it again. And then we'll do our line on this side. So to make a drawing that is proportionally accurate to this original starting photo, it has to be 7 3/4 inches by 8 inches. And I mean, you can go up or down, but with the ones that we picked, that's what this drawing is. So that's what I mean about being proportional. If you were trying to draw this exact drawing on a sheet, a full sheet of copy paper like this, your bird would probably end up stretched out a little bit too tall. Okay, I'm back. So way number 4 is to look for shapes. And again, I'm going to put you from here to there, and we will talk about looking for shapes and what you're drawing and how to do that. And then I'll be back for way number 5. Right? 5? I think I'm on 5. Okay. Okay, we're going to use this later in a different step. But for now, if we're just doing rough sketching without measuring everything out, then the easiest way is to look for shapes. So if we're looking here at the bird, there is a kind of an ovally shape right here, right? Like a egg. And then we have a round shape right here, a circle, right? And then like another cylinder right here. Those are the shapes of the bird. So if we come over here and we draw an ovally shape, right? Like we just did. This is for rough sketching. And then we draw our head shape right here. And then we'll draw our cylinder shape right here. Those are the rough shapes of the bird, right? So then you just have to connect the shapes and add in any rough shapes that you need. Draw in his little beak. And this is just for rough, quick sketching. And then he's got his wing here is sort of sticking out like that. He's got his eye right in here. He's got his black like that. He's got a little bit of a neck there. And then we have one claw here. And yeah, that's more over here. One claw here. And we'll just draw in a quick branch. And one claw like that, and one claw like that. So that is the quick and easy and fast method of getting in your rough shapes for a bird. And then you would just obviously come back and erase your guidelines, and then just make any changes that you would like to make to your drawing. He's got, it actually comes like this as part of the tail, like that. And he's got his rough feathers. Just real quick and sketchy. This took me like what? I don't know, 5 minutes? I wasn't timing it. But you have your rough shape of your bird, all starting with those 3 simple shapes. So that is a very important step. Look for shapes. All right, on to the next one. This is the 5th way that you can get better at drawing and more accurate at sketching. And this is the one these last 2 were the ones I was talking about back at the beginning when I was talking about tracing and how I think it's bad. Okay, I mean, not bad, but it's bad for your development as an artist. It's a tool that it's okay for professionals to use, or somebody who already knows how to draw if they're in a hurry to make something or whatever. If you want to learn how to get better at drawing, I highly suggest you use number 5, the grid method, or number 6, the dot method. And I will talk to you about both of those. Okay, so for using the grid method, I like to divide the image I'm working from into thirds this way and then thirds this way. And I'm going to eyeball it. If you want to be super, super, super accurate, you could actually measure it. But I know because it's 5 3/16, this is going to be a rough one to measure. Let's see if that's roughly about the same. I mean, it's close enough. We're going to draw our lines this way. This is all manually, obviously. I have and can do this in Photoshop or Procreate. And if you have those programs, it's easier to do because you can just put a grid on there. But if you don't, then this is the way to do it and how I used to do it before I had those. Okay, that's fairly accurate. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our, drawing like this. This is the one we did where we used the proportional scale to figure out exactly how proportional this is to this. And this is probably going to be hard to measure out too. So let's just eyeball this one too. Again, if you want to be super accurate, you should really be measuring these and not eyeballing them. But I'm just giving you a general idea on how to do it. Okay, so you've got your grid and you've got your grid here. So then you just draw in what's in this square. So you've got just a little bit of its hair, feathers, poking over this way. And then you can see that this is just about the halfway point, maybe just a little bit below. So if you mark the halfway point here, you're going to want to take this just a little bit below, like that. And then you can see there's about that much there. And then just a little bit here. And let's come back up here before we get into that other point. And you can see, so if we divided this into thirds, his beak point is about the third way of that one. So maybe a little bit more. So let's say his beak is there. So we're going to come like this. And his beak is going to come like that. Like that. And his eye is about right here. And we've got the black coming like this again. And down here, I think I made his beak a little too big. And then we have his tail that comes, whoops, that wasn't the right angle. It just gives you some areas to check your work, sort of, as it is, to make sure that you're lining up with, this is too low, where you see it in the sketch. This is like that. So then if you were getting really accurate with like the stick, you can see it's starting about there and going here. And then it goes behind him actually here, and his foot sort of sticks out here. And then the branch makes a reappearance. And it starts about here and sort of curves there. So you can see how, here, we'll compare this just so you can, I'm going to stop there so we can, but you can see, okay. So here is just looking for shapes, and here is the grid method. So you can see this is rougher and not quite as accurate. This is much more accurate than this, if you're going for, you know, realism. So you can see how the grid method takes this up about 3 notches. Now there's something you can do in between these, and that is the one that I sort of made up, and I will tell you about it and be back here in a second. Okay, so now we're on way number 6 to get more accurate in your drawing, and that is the dot method. I do not know if this is a real method or not. This may have been something I invented. I haven't seen anybody else do this. I'm sure probably there are people that do this out there. It's taking the grid method, which is like you know, maybe for beginners. And then the dot method is just a step harder, and that's for, you know, moderate skill level to advanced skill level when you want to be more accurate. Okay, so now we're going to do the dot method. So I'm just going to look at this for a second, and roughly you would want to start by proportionally measuring out the proportions of your painting, drawing, whatever. Okay, you guys, in the sake of not measuring again for the dot method, I'm going to show you what I would do here with my light box, if I can find it. My light pad. All right, you guys, this is a light pad. I think it might be for diamond painting. I don't know. It was pretty inexpensive. I'll put a link to it down below. I bought it a couple years ago. I think it was, I want to say it was about $15. I'd like one of those big Huion, really nice ones that can go through watercolor paper, but for now, this works. So just to save time, instead of measuring everything out again, I'm just going to mark this down. And also I wanted to clarify, when I said tracing at the beginning isn't great, I don't mean like if you do a sketch and you transfer it to watercolor paper so you don't get your watercolor paper all grubby by tracing it with a light box. That is not the kind of tracing I meant. The kind of tracing I meant is where you take your picture of your bird and you put it, I think it would work, I don't know if this is bright enough, where you put it on here and you trace around your bird to do your finished drawing. That is not going to help you any. Of course, if you are doing watercolor and you need to get your drawing on your watercolor paper without it being totally grubby and nasty, this would be the way to do it. I'm just going to mark in. So this is what I would do if I was doing the dot method. I would figure out the outside proportions, and then I would do the dots at the thirds instead of doing the full grid like that. That's all we need this for. Actually, you know what? No, that's all we need it for. I will just move this out of the way. Okay. So now we've got our, oops, that was the wrong one. We've got our border, we've got our dots, right? And then you can eyeball the dots for the thirds if you would like, or do them more accurately when you still have it on the, okay. So there's our thirds, okay. So now, instead of doing like the full-on grid, I will mark like the top of his head is there. The side of his head crosses into his beak about there. The end of his beak is about here. His back is about there. So what I'm doing is I'm just marking spots where I see like the direction of the lines changing or whatever, and this is going to help guide me during the drawing process. I find it a little less work and easier to just mark out a couple things like this instead of doing the whole grid. So it's almost like connecting the dots. Remember that when you were a kid? Connect the dots. So I'm going to then draw in and see, I have my reference here. I'm referring back to it. Draw with a reference if you want to be accurate, everybody. If you're not trying to be photorealistic, if you're trying to be loose, then no, of course, you can do whatever, you know, you want to make your art how you want. But I specifically have gotten a bunch of questions on how to draw an accurate, and again, you can also be looking for your shapes in this. Look for your shapes, just like we did in the first one. Always be looking for your shapes. Yeah, I'm always looking for my shapes, no matter what method I'm using. If you can break an object down to shapes, it's going to be a whole lot easier for you. Let's see, where are we here? So we've got his beak here. Also, you can see I'm doing little short strokey strokes because this isn't a finished drawing. This is a sketch. We're sketching in, I think it's called the contours, the contour outline of the bird that we are going to draw or paint or whatever. If I was doing like a watercolor painting or anything like this would be the beginning stages. This is not the finished work. We're doing the contour outline to make sure we have our bird accurate. There we go, everybody. We have the shape method, the dot method, and the grid method. These are our 3 drawings. Let's go through them again. I don't know if you can see them all. I actually think I like this dot method one the best. You can see here with the shapes, I don't think he was as fat as he should be through here. He should have been a little bit fatter up through here. But this was also the fastest one. So if you're looking for fast and loose, maybe do the shapes. I mean, it all depends on what you're trying to do. If I was trying to be really photorealistic, this would not have been the finished thing. I would have done a lot of erasing and redoing. So there you go. The 3 drawings with the 3 methods. All right, let's go back over and I'll talk a little bit more by the camera. Okay, so those are the six ways to get better at drawing and to become more accurate and be able to draw more realistic things. Again, if you want to join us over on Sketchbook Club for my Painttober, that'll be linked down below. That tier is $4, and everybody who is in that $4 tier has access to the group and the sketchbook prompts and all of that. And also check out my shop if you haven't checked it out yet. The link for that will be down below as well. And thank you so much for being here with me today. And until next time, happy creating.